Hi, I'm Sarah from Sarah Silks, and today I'm going to teach you how to dye rainbow play silks. This is a really pretty blue. It's pretty easy to dye a rainbow play silk. You just need three colors, the three primary colors. I'm going to use red, yellow, and blue. Okay. So I'm using the Jacquard acid dyes. These are the dyes we use for all of our play silks. But if you're going to do it with children, I'd recommend using food coloring. Food coloring, like you do with Easter egg dyeing, works great. It just gives a more pale color on the silk, which is beautiful too. So with the Jacquard acid dyes, the acid is actually white vinegar, just like it is with food coloring. So we will start with yellow. So that what happens is the colors blend together to make the full rainbow if you use these three colors. So I'm going to start with some yellow, and I'm going to put it into my jar. And add some hot, hot water. And I'm going to stir it up. Now, because I'm using the Jacquard dyes, with food coloring you wouldn't have to do this because it's a liquid, but I'm going to filter it with a colander and a paper towel to make sure I don't get any dye spots. So after I stir it, I just pour it through the filter. I'm going to heat up my water and add a little more water. I find the yellow, you want the yellow to be the darkest color, because the most saturated color, because yellow is the most pale. And if you get the blue too dark or the red too dark, it can overshadow the yellow. And I'm putting a little bit of vinegar in. I'm not much of a measurer in cooking or dyeing. I kind of have an eye for it by now. So I'm going to take a play silk, a white play silk. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to fold it a little less than half. Leave a little bit extra on the end. And I'm going to dye it about this much into the yellow. I'm just going to dip it in. And if you have it opened up like I do, you're less likely to get that streaky thing you get when you're dyeing. It's more likely to be even if you have it kind of fluffed up before you put it in. So I like to go like that, and maybe I'm going to do a couple. Here, I'm going to rinse my hands between, because one problem is you can get some spotting on, if you have dye on your hands, you might get spotting on some of the other areas of the white silk. Open up another one. I'm going to fluff it up a little to get less streakiness. I'm going to fold it about like this, and then I'm going to just dip the middle part into yellow. And it just comes up to yellow. Looks really nice. See that it leaves the white tail like that, about like that. Rinse my hands. I'll do one more. So take this up, fluff it up a little, fold it over, dip it in. It's a nice bright yellow I have. It's really pretty. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to dump out my yellow. Rinse out my bowl. Silk is an easy fabric to dye. Silk takes the dye a lot easier than cotton does. Silk and feathers and hair. Silk is more like hair. It takes dye very easily. Now I'm going to rinse with cold water. And because I had added vinegar, very little of the dye is washing out. Just a little. I'll rinse all three. The jacquard dyes dissolve better in hot water. So I usually keep a pot boiling while I work. Okay, so for the blue, I'm using sapphire blue. Let's see, for the yellow I used bright yellow. And for the red I'm going to use cherry red. There are lots of options. These are my favorites. I'm going to use just a little less dye for yellow than I used for the I'm going to use a little less dye for blue than I used for yellow. Maybe just a tiny bit more. Like I said, I'm not much of a measurer. I'm going to go with my gut. I'll try to write the recipe down underneath here so you can, what I think might be about right. There we go. I'm going to stir it up. Stir up my beautiful blue. Blue is such a pretty color. I'm going to filter it. Take a paper towel. Dye did not get dissolved. That's okay because my blue is very strong, as you can see. When I've done this with children, I've done this at Waldorf school fairs, I've done this at kids' birthday parties with food coloring. You can start out with a rainbow, showing children how to do a rainbow, but you usually get the most amazing different variations. Sometimes you'll get more tie-dye. Some children only want to use yellow. Some children only want red and yellow, or blue and yellow, or blue and red. And they're amazed at the color combinations, how the colors blend together, like the red and blue making purple. It's a very fun project to do with children. Had a really good time doing it. And of course, then there are the ones who make brown accidentally, and then they're really sad because if you miss, sometimes they're not sad, but sometimes they get sad if you mix too many of all the colors together. You get overzealous with your dyeing, you can get brown. And some people like brown, but some kids don't. And so I would recommend having a few extra silks for that in case that happens. So now I'm going to open up my silk. I'm going to think about the rainbow. So this is the side that has more white that I'm going to do with blue, because this side is going to become blue and purple. It's actually going to become green, blue, and purple. So I'm going to stick this part into the blue. And as it overlaps the yellow, we get our green. Get a band of beautiful green here. And the more I open the silk, the less streaky it is. See here, this is a really pretty blue. I'm going to be very careful not to contaminate my other yellow with my blue. My hand really, really clean. Okay, so I'm opening this up, and the side that has the most white on it, the more you open it up, the less streakiness you're going to get. The short side is going to be the red side, the long side is the blue side, because it's got to do blue, purple, and green on this side. So now we're going overlapping, getting some green. I still think it's pretty magic, even though I've done it thousands of times. You can see this beautiful color coming. I just love the blue. Different days, I have different colors. Different days, I have different favorite colors. Today I seem to be loving the blue. Okay, I'm going to rinse my hand. Again, I'm going to open the silk and spread it out a little. And make sure the big side is the side going into the blue, the big side of white. Here we go. overlapping with the green, making sure to leave enough yellow, because the yellow's got to be orange and yellow, so we have to leave a good generous amount of yellow. But that's what's nice. Every rainbow's a little different, just like the rainbows you see in the sky. Okie dokie. So now I'm going to dump out my blue dye. Rinse off my silks. It's hard for kids. If you're doing it with children, sometimes I have a rinse bucket, and I just encourage them to dip it only to the top, say, of the green into the rinse bucket. But then you have to dump out your rinse bucket a lot. Or you could rinse for them. Or maybe they don't care. They're happy to get all the colors all mixed together, and it's perfectly fine. Now we're going to get our cherry red. Cherry red is a sticky color. To shake it. These dyes are made right here in Healdsburg, California. This is a great brand, Jacquard. So I am going to put a little bit of red. Try not to overwhelm my rainbow with too much red. And even though these dyes are all safe for children, all of our silks are safety tested by an independent laboratory, I don't recommend using these dyes with children. So if you're going to dye with children, I'd recommend using food coloring. Okay, so now we're going to make our red and orange on the other side of the yellow. Once again, spread out your silk a little bit so you don't get too much streaking. Let's see what happens. Let's see if our red's strong enough. Here we go. Ooh, I love orange. Orangey red. I'm going to hold it into the red for a little longer because I can see our red dye is not quite as saturated maybe as the blue. It's still really, really pretty. Here we go again. Spread it out a little bit. I like to do it kind of quickly when I immerse it so that it dyes evenly. This one's getting a little streaky, but it's not too bad. This is just so pretty. So I've had a lot of trouble getting an actual deep fire engine red on silk. It takes a lot. It takes really hot water and a really saturated dye in the washing machine. So on our rainbows, it's more of a rosy red, which I think is still really beautiful. It's not a true red. And when I've been looking, I watch rainbows in the skies. I'm sure many of all of us love to watch rainbows in the sky, but I'm always looking to see, like, is it red? And it's not so much. It is more of a pastel-y, kind of a rosy red, the actual rainbows in the sky too. So maybe even Mother Nature has trouble with the deep reds. Now I'm going to rinse, but I'm saving the red because we need it again. Here we go. Again, I'm rinsing down from up to down. The very tip of the blue, I'm going to dip into the red, see if I can get some purple. I wish I'd left a little more space, but still, we're going to get a purple right here. It's a very small band, but it's purple. There we go. Dip our blue right into the red. We're going to get our purple. All 6 colors of the rainbow. My children loved it when they learned the rainbow order. When I was a girl, I never learned rainbow order. It never was something that came up. And I don't know if it's just more common today for 5- and 6-year-olds to be interested in rainbow order or not, but I find that a lot of children love to learn it, and they like to learn how to mix the colors too to get this. So we definitely want purple, blue, green, yellow, orange, and red. We have the whole rainbow. Okay, I'm going to do a last rinse. So now we could either hang them up on the clothesline or we could put them into the clothes dryer. I put them in the clothes dryer because it's a lot faster. They're very beautiful if you want to hang them outside on the clothesline. So when I first started doing this 25 years ago in Windsor, my kids were little and I didn't have a clothes dryer. So I would just dye them in my kitchen sink actually. And then I hung them, I had a giant clothesline hanging in my front yard back and forth. And I would hang 20, 30, 40 rainbows all up in the front yard. And the neighbors used to stop by, or people would drive by and say, "What are you doing? Like, why are you making all these rainbows?" And our yard was quite beautiful. And the kids would play underneath and run around. And yeah, it's been a long time since I've done it that way, or this way. This is to show you.